sacred ritual circling the object. Definition of ritual. Ritual contains the meaning of repetition as it was done in a similar way in the previous era or era. That is, rituals are not composed by actors or groups of actors according to the assumption of subjective understanding of individuals or groups of people in a certain place and at a certain time. Sacred or sacred practice is called religious action, which has the following meanings. Religious action is an effort to find a way to save the soul through worship patterns with the aim of establishing communication between people as well as with transcendent realms. Among the applications of religious actions is the rotating movement on the shaft. This ritual is not composed by an individual actor, a human individual or group of actors who, according to the assumption of the subjective understanding of an individual or group of people in a certain place and at a certain time. Circular motion around objects also occurs in the universe, as a definite and natural motion in perfect constants in the universe. The nebula rotates to the left counterclockwise or the clockwise counter from its axis. The occurrence of matter in the Big Bang event is due to reversal of rotation. This chemical physics term is called the inverse force, or inversion. The object that is inverted will divide into the opposite, which eventually results in matter and antimatter. Then the Earth spins around the Sun. The right-hand rule in physics. If a conductor or metal is surrounded by electricity moving counterclockwise, then in the conductor an electromagnetic wave field will appear pointing upward, i.e. the thumb direction shows the direction of electric current and the other finger folds indicate the direction of the magnetic field. Soft-type vines will creep around the parent perennials rotating counterclockwise. Because woody parent plants are hotter than creeping ones, and if same-sex vines are soft, they twist each other in a circle clockwise to then separate or jump vines on hardwood trees and change direction, circle them counterclockwise. The meaning: rotating motion to the left, counterclockwise, counterclockwise. Also turn to the right, clockwise, clockwise. This is natural motion as an attitude of communication towards nature, not interpreted as good or bad. This circular motion around the object is a natural motion. The rotating movement around objects carried out by mankind is called sacred ritual. This ritual is not composed by an individual actor, an individual human being or a group of actors who, according to the assumption of an individual subjective understanding or a group of people in a certain place and at a certain time. The rotating movement around this object is recorded in several scriptures, including Al-Quran, Al-Hajj 29, and let them perform tawaf around the old house. Psalm 26:6 I wash my hands innocence, and walk around thy altar, O Lord. In the Bible, King David had already walked around the holy altar, the house of Allah, the temple, long before the Prophet Muhammad was born. Dharmic teachings. Purwadaksina, Pradaksina, and Prasawiya Uttaryana, which means turning to the right clockwise, and turning to the left counterclockwise, understood as an increase in status or towards Swaloka Uttama for Purwadaksina. In the Theravada tradition, the Pradaksina ritual is interpreted as a form of respect shown to Triratna. The application of Dharma in daily life. In the Mahayana tradition, the Pradaksina ritual is interpreted as meditation, training concentration and awareness of people who practice walking, which is included in the practice of meditation. The Venerable Arya Maha Kassapa paid his final respects to Gautama Buddha by reciting Parita Parita, mantras related to the teachings of the Dhamma, accompanied by circling the body of the Buddha 3 times clockwise as shown. Performed by Brahma Sahampati. Citizens of Tibetan perform the ritual, Kowtow, ritual of walking around the holy place. The ritual is done by stopping at every 3 footsteps, then clasping your hands above your head, lowering your hands in front of your mouth and in front of your chest, turning clockwise. Review the study of literacy in historical records. The ancestors of the Indonesian nation, the Brahmin, was referred to by European historians as Brahmanism. Before the Veda was written, they were the Saka, the Aryans who brought their Dharmic original teachings outside the archipelago which underlie the birth of Buddhism, Hinduism and Jainism long before their names listed below, namely Dharmadasa 700 to 620 BC, Dharmapala 670 to 580 BC, Sanjaya Balathapada 6 BC, Sariputra 568 to 484 BC, Svarnadvipa Dharmakirti 610 BC 520 BC, there were two names at different times. Kumarila Bhatta 1, 618, 540 BC. Adi Sankara 569 to 537 BC. Kri Janayasa Dapunta Hayam 671 to 702 AD. Rishi Markandeya, 9th century AD. The Dharmic, Brahmin teachings brought by the Aryans Kakya, Saka, were our ancestors long before, and in later times led to the emergence of interpretations of the holy book Veda, which gave birth, Aranyaka and Upanishad. Vedas are freely studied and interpreted. This freedom led to the emergence of several different teachings and schools. In 563 to 483 BC, was born Siddhartha Gautama, the figure of Buddhism. In the years 549 to 477 BC, was born Mahavira, figure, Jainism. In the 9th century AD, the British era in India, was born a religion that did not come from a founder or one point in time like other religions to distinguish neither the two before nor Islam. In Svarnadvipa, Indonesia, in an even older era, long before the Vedic era 6500 BC, there was a teaching that was adopted, namely, Dharma. The original teachings of the archipelago, the Saka of our ancestors, this is where the main basic source of the original Dharmic teachings. Then in the era after, it was recorded that the pioneers of the Dharmic were recorded at the time of the emergence of several different teachings outside the archipelago after the Veda was written in India. The archipelago of Indonesia was formerly the location where the teachings of Dharma originated. In the post-Vedic text, Mahabharata Udyoga Parva 108, East, is described as the homeland of the origin of the Veda culture, where the creator of the universe first sings Veda. Timur is the former Indonesian archipelago, the location where the initial teachings, before Veda, were written in India. The sacred rituals revolving around the object were recorded by Chinese pilgrims who studied in the archipelago as well as Dutch archaeologists while conducting their research. Based on studies on travel records Xuanzang, Haiyan, Sang 602-664, ad by Samuel Beale in 1884. In 399 to 414 AD, Fa Hien on a journey in Svarnadvipa noted the following. Following the Po Nai River, this is the Panay River, Kampar. In the place where the students used to live there and do the movement, walk around the tope, or the stupa, also 4 teachers sit in 4 corners. In this place the tower has been erected. What Fa Hien saw and recorded was that he witnessed the Brahmins making a spinning movement around the Muarataka site. In the years 602-664 ad, Haiyan Sang recorded what he saw in Svarnadvipa. Beside it was a stupa built by the king, about 200 feet high, near which there is a sign of the Tathagata walking around. What Haiyan Sang saw and noted was that he witnessed the Brahmins making a spinning movement around the Muarataka site. In 1935, F.M. Schnitger, a Dutch scientist exploring the Muaratakas forest, on the banks of the Kampar Canaan River, witnessed the phenomenon. When the full moon shines, a herd of elephants crossed the river and went to the holy temple. They gathered around the high tower. What F.M. Schnitger saw and noted was he witnessed a group of elephants making a spinning movement around the Muarataka site. The meaning, the sacred movement revolving around the object, already was done long before Chinese pilgrims came to the Indonesian archipelago, before the birth of Buddhism, Hinduism and Jainism in India. The next step in trying to balance the force that is around us and that which is within us is to move it, or it is also called spinning. It takes turning to the right or east to south called Pradaksina, Purwadaksina, turning to the left from the east to the north, or Prasawya, Purwautara. These 2 types of rounds are not about good or bad, each has a different use and outcome. The view of the Pradaksina philosophical concept has been brought by the Aryan nation, the Saka, the ancestors of the previous Indonesian nation, with the symbol of the movement of the sun as a symbol of swastika. This swastika is a fortune which implies Dharma, universal harmony and balance. These meanings and symbols are still perfectly preserved in Balinese culture. The principle of Balinese traditional dress meets Trianga, Wesa, Nyasa, Purwadaksina and Prasawya. Conclusion. View of the philosophical concept of rotating motion on an axis is a repetition as done in a similar way in the previous era or era. This sacred ritual has been carried out by the Arya Kakya, Saka nation, the ancestors of the archipelago who took the movement of the sun as a symbol of swastika. Bali keeps this meaning perfect in its daily life, and in the process of its implementation it later became named Pradaksina, Kowtow, Purwadaksina, Prasawiya, Tawaf. By Santo Saba.